this real quick. Let me hit that. All right, y'all. All right. All praise to the Most High. First and foremost, all praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh, and a sincere greeting to the brothers and sisters scattered across the four corners, teaching this word with sincerity and charity. Let me make sure I got some volume because I don't really hear much in my headphones. So let me just make sure you got some volume, and then we're going to crank this thing on up. I hope everyone's been doing well. Yeah, we do have volume. Shalom, shalom. Daughter of a king, shalom, sis. All right, go ahead and crank this thing up. We're going to be dealing with Tamar and Judah, man. We're going to be looking into this story, gleaning from it. This is not a a good Sunday school class, you know what I'm saying? So it's a little graphic in this thing. So just be mindful of that when we're reading this. Be mindful of that when we're reading this. Shalom, you got an echo on that thing. I don't know if you got an echo on that thing. I don't know if you got
Shalom.
If you got
Still an echo?
Yeah. Mic check. Yeah. It's an echo, yeah. Yeah, con.
Like, I'm gonna try to put it on mute to see if that work out.
Alright, that's 10 for.
Hey, but shalom, brother.
Shalom, Mark. Shalom. So yeah, this should be a great class, man. We can glean from this thing, and we see the importance, how the Most High's treating these widows, and we see it's a mess. How the Most High can pull us from a mess, There's and I'm gonna tell you this: there's not many stories, in the text that you can really glean from, especially in the Old Testament, that you can really say, well, that is the ideal family right there. That's how I want my house to be ran. King David can't give you that. Solomon can't give you that. Judah can't give you that. Isaac can't give you that. You know what I'm saying? It was, a lot of these families were messy. A lot of the Israelites family are messy. So it's very problematic for us to glean from these things. Even Adam and Eve, the first family. The link should be at the top. Even the first family, Adam and Eve, you had Cain and Abel coming out of that thing, and that became messy also. So it's not a lot for us to glean from for that, and I know we look into it, but a lot of the stuff is us supposed to be gleaning from these people, not from our forefathers' moral compass, but more so their faith, and how they followed, and how their heart was complete or perfect with the Most High. And but yeah, most of the people that he used, man, it was a lot of craziness going on. All right, a fateful deception. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started on this thing. Let me see. I got Brother Dion in the spinning. He in the eclipse. Go ahead and crank this thing up. We're gonna go to Genesis. We're gonna be in Genesis 38 for the most part. And then once we see everything, then we'll glean from certain lessons that we can pull from. And I may not have hit every note, but there's a few notes. This is my first time really teaching on this. I read through it, but it's my first time making a lesson out of this particular story. Um, Let me put that link out there one more time. But and then we gonna go ahead and get started. All right, so we're gonna go to Genesis chapter 38. Genesis chapter 38. So you got to make sure too. If you got the YouTube going, I don't know if you got the YouTube going, and the stream yard going at the same time. But this story starts here. It's right before. It's in the midst of the story of Joseph. All right, we're gonna read this whole chapter. It's in the midst of the story of Joseph, and then it just seems like this story kind of cues off a little bit, and then it goes back into Joseph. But that's not really the case. It's needed to go into this particular part to give some correction, to make some adjustments, rather. To make some adjustments in some of our forefathers, so that these things can play out the way they need to play out. Shalom, Ma, you hear me?
Shalom, ma. Done.
Shalom. We gonna read Genesis 38. Can you read for me?
Done.
And we gonna read this whole chapter, but I'm gonna be pausing you through this thing on some things that we need to look at, that we might have looked over.
We went over this class once before, but that's a 10 for.
Off of Tamar and Judah.
Done.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe that was the title, but
Yeah, it was probably something else, and I might have put it in there.
done.
Yeah, because this is a good story on hypocrisy. You know what I'm saying? It is a good story on hypocrisy, and a few other things. So yeah, I definitely could have threw it in there. I don't
Yeah,
think I did just a whole class just based off of this, but yeah, I could have definitely threw it in there.
yeah. I think we was learning about the how that goes when a brother or a husband passes, and
Right.
how that that the rule was, the brother, takes that wife to keep that name going and have a
Right.
hair, have a, what I'm talking about, have a
Yeah, inheritance.
inheritance. Yeah.
Yeah, right, con. So yeah, definitely. And we gonna be going back over that that Leviticus 25. Um, but yeah, that's not the basis of this. But we gonna go. Yeah, we just gonna go in there. Just for so we can see that law in there also, what he was supposed to do and why these things might have happened to these certain individuals. But go ahead and whenever you ready,
Now, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 38, from the top, and it reads, "And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned in to a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hira. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And he took her and went in to her unto her. And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name
Now that thing went by real quick, but this is right after we gonna hit a little bit of Genesis 37, but this is right after they said, hey man, let's throw Joseph in the ditch and get rid of him, and they done did this stuff to Joseph. And Judah leaves the area, and he goes he went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hira, and Judah saw that there was a daughter of a certain Canaanite. So he goes and he marries a Canaanite, goes into her, and she conceives Er. Yeah,
Verse 4. You ready up?
Yeah, go ahead.
And she conceived, and she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Chesed when she bare him. And Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. And Judah said unto Onan, Go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother.
Con. So we see that Judah gets his firstborn a wife. And when eventually, once they marry or whatever, the Most High sees that he's wicked and he kills him. All right. Now we don't have the text don't say why he was wicked or why he was killed. You know what I'm saying? All we can do is speculate, and this is why a lot of the pseudo picgrapher books will come in, because somebody will come in as an author and say, well, he was killed because I done seen certain commentaries and that people were speaking about on why was killed, what was he so wicked, and some were saying, well, he was wicked because he didn't want to impregnate his wife. He just wanted to keep her beautiful. And he just wanted to he didn't want to deframe her body or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how a lot of these other books get written. They try to fill in what the text ain't saying. But if the text quiet, we got to be quiet on that thing too. We can speculate and so forth, but we can't make doctrines out of this thing. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And Onan knew that the seed should not be hid. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it out on the ground, lest that she should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also.
And the Most High slewed him also. Onan, he didn't want to he didn't want to spill into her, but he did want to have sex with her. You know what I'm saying? He could, yeah, like he didn't want to spill into her. He didn't want her to have kids, and why wouldn't he want her to have kids?
See,
What
even
does?
he didn't. We speculating, but I don't know. I can't speculate.
Yeah, you can. Why you think? Why you think he didn't?
Either, either
Let's see what's at risk first. Let's see what's at risk. The inheritance. All right,
gone,
it's three of them. Now it's only two of them.
gone,
But if he go into her, it's gonna be split. Three ways.
gone. Read
And the firstborn get what?
the most of it.
He get the most. He get a double portion. All right. So Onan, like, I don't want to split. And again, the text don't necessarily say that. All right. So just a little speculation. But
I was just going to say that whatever his brother did get killed for, he's sort of holding that up. But that
that,
sounds more
that
prevalent.
hey, that's another point also.
Uh,
And we gonna see that. We actually gonna see that. We gonna see that in the text we keep reading. All right, we actually gonna see that in the text. Go ahead.
and the verse 10, and the thing which he did displeased the Lord, therefore he slew him also. Then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house.
So, that really don't make a lot of sense if we really look at what Judah is saying here. Now, Judah, he got two sons that already done died. His two oldest done already died. All he's left with is Sheila. All right. All he's left with is his youngest. And he's telling Tamar, why don't you just go on back to your father's house? Go back to your father's house and stay a widow with him until my youngest son, get of age. Or unless he mess around and die too. So he's kind of, Judah's kind of speculating like, hey man, it's something that she doing that's killing my kids, man.
Yeah.
Because she could have waited with them. You know what I'm saying? But he sent that help out of the house. He's like, nah, send her, go, you going back to your father's house and remain there. But and then the text literally says, yeah, man, at least my other kids mess around. At least this one died. This is my youngest, and this one died. And again, this is right in the midst of the Joseph story, where Jacob is Jacob done lost his. Well, he ain't went there yet, but Jacob had that same sentiment towards Joseph when they run back and tell him, hey, Joseph is gone. And now Judah's in a predicament where two of his sons is gone and he's down to his last son that he tried to, and he gave them the wife. And so he like, man, y'all, man, going back to your daddy house, man. Go back to your daddy house. And I'm a call for you when he get of age. When I'm ready for him to marry, I'm gonna call you. Go ahead, Doc.
Verse 12. And in process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted and went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. And it was told Tamar,
Shalakia too.
Shilaki,
Judah kicking a bobo. Judah is kicking a bobo with this Adulamite. You know what I'm saying? He done start kicking it with him heavy. Go ahead.
and it was told Tamar, saying, Behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garment off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and was not given unto him to wife.
Now, if Sheila's grown and wasn't given to her, what you think Judah was thinking in the whole time?
God,
I'm not giving you my son. I'm not finna give you my son. I'm not finna let my son go up in you, man. You gonna mess around and get me kill my son. I ain't let my son go up in you. So now she sees that the son is grown, and now she feel betrayed. Like, you done betrayed me, man. You got me sitting up here waiting as a widow. And so she takes off. Another thing to mention is she taking off the widow's garment. All right, widows had a certain clothing that they wore, and then she veiled herself and covered herself up completely. Covered herself up to look like a harlot. And she's sitting in the open way. And then we see that verse 12, and in the process of time, meaning years done went by.
God,
Um, and so yeah, she sees him growing, and she's in the open path. She's not at a temple. She's on the side of the road. She's strolling. She walking the strip. You know what I'm
she she put her she put herself in the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a little different. It's a little different than Jacob. I mean Judah going into like a temple and worshiping there and so forth. Shalom, brother Dixon. But go ahead. Where we at?
15.
Verse 15. God.
When Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way and said, Go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law.
Con. So
And,
it wasn't no game. It wasn't. You know. He thought it was a harlot. He said, "Hey, man, let me use your services. Let me occupy your services for a moment." And straight up, go ahead.
and she said, What wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come in unto me?
Mm.
And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, Wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give thee? And she said, Thy signet, and thy bracelets, and thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave it her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him.
All right, and she conceived by him. All right, this is her father-in-law. Okay, this is her father-in-law, and that she was supposed to give a son, but she did not get his son. Felt betrayed. She did what she thought she had to do. And again, man, culturally, we have to understand that, sisters that were widows, man, they were done. All right, you had to have the inheritance. That's why it was important for them to have a son, because the son was their 401k. All right, the son was their retirement. It was their savings. And it was imperative for them to do that, and that's why they were mocked. They were like, "Man, you dangerous. It's like, you widow, you ain't got no kid, no son, like you homeless, like you in danger." You know what I'm saying? So, people would mock them and say, "Dang, how the Most High not bless them and has cursed them with a curse or something where they won't have no children." So it was very important because of that reason, and of the of having inheritance, or having a covering that would protect you. You couldn't go ahead and get a job. Only thing would be left for you to glean the fields, or to become a harlot.
Hey, Shalakia,
Go ahead.
Shalakia, you see the transaction happening, man. That Shunammite, she in survival mode, man. She like, yeah, I know you want me, what I'm gonna get out this, man. That's like what happened right now on the streets.
Right,
Like, like she was in survival mode, bro. Like, yeah, I know I'm bad. I know I'm a widow, but you got to have me, man. So what I get
right,
out there? You know what I mean? That's the same thing going on now, man. That was what we call a street transaction, brother. That's
right, con. But except Judah left his wallet. Judah didn't have his wallet. Judah trying to get this thing on credit, man. Until I come back, you could have my staff and my bracelet, and he drunk. That when I see this, like, man, you totally drunk. Now you gone. You just saying, what do you want me to give you?
Nose
Well,
open.
yeah, what I'm saying, nose open, just completely gone, man. But too, I don't know if we read through it real quick, we missed it, but Judah's wife has died also. This is right after his wife has passed, so he's a widow now also, and and he's trying to, he's trying to heal himself a little bit, and
And it don't give
go
a
ahead.
timeline on how long since his wife
Right,
passed either.
right. And so when he sees that on the way, he really ain't going to get that, but he sees it on the way to, getting his sheep, getting them cut up and getting them sheared. He said, "Oh man, uh, I don't know when this opportunity is gonna come up again. Let me go ahead and jump down on that." Where we at though? We at
19.
18, 19.
And she arose and went away and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend, the Adulamite, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not.
Con. So now why he sent the Adulamite? Why he didn't go do it himself? Why he
Shame.
sent his friend? Huh? Shame, shame, man. Go ahead, man. Would you go find that go for? And this joker down for him, cause ain't too many people gonna do that for you, man. This little Adulamite, like I said, they been rolling tight, man. So he goes and he try to find this harlot so he can give her payment, and he can get back his brother's stuff, man. He can get back his partner's stuff. Go ahead.
But Shalaki, we missed the part where it says she put back on her garments of the widowhood.
Con. She put back she changed her clothes. She went back. She got out of harlot mode, and she went into widowhood. You can know a widow when you see it. Like, you can, the dress code will let you know that that's a widow, and that is a harlot. You know what I'm saying?
But
Just about it. Go
what I
ahead.
was saying, Shalaki, is it says, and she arose and went away and laid by her veil from her, and put on the garments of her widowhood. So, does he not see her leaving?
Yeah, but I don't think he sees her changing her clothes.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this is like a media, like you talk about the timeline here. You know, we don't have that timeline. You know, I don't
Con.
think Judah just laid up. I think once he released, he probably was a little disgusted with himself. Like,
Oh,
ah,
it
man,
broke
I
out.
failed it. You know, I don't know. It's just speculation, but yeah, I want to say she's by herself because he don't know. You know, because if he would have seen her change clothes, he would have know that that was his
Right.
daughter-in-law. You know what I'm
Con.
saying? Okay.
This is but that would also break forth that shame if he would have realized.
Oh man, he gonna be sick.
Con. But verse 21. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, there was no harlot in this place. And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Judah said, let her take it to her. Let her take it to her,
Let
lest
her take
we
it to
be
her, meaning
shamed.
let her keep it. Just let her
Uh,
keep it.
lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou hast not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter in law, hath played the harlot. And also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, bring her forth and let her be burnt.
Wait a minute now. Now Judah, you know, again we see you know that verse prior. You know what I'm saying? And he returned to Judah at verse 22. I cannot find her. And verse 23 says Judah said, let it take it to her, which means again, better translated, just let her keep it. Uh, uh, uh unless we be shamed. Again, just let her keep it because we don't want nobody to say that we just, you know, we finagled this harlot. All right, that we just took it from her and never paid her. And never, you know what I'm saying? Just, you know, we don't want that shame on us. At least we know that we went up there looking for her with the kid. We did what we were supposed to do. All
Come.
right. So he's trying to protect his shame in this point. You know what I'm saying? But you know, when he went in there and did that, man, he didn't care nothing about that. He was drunk. Um, so now Tamar is found. Word is coming back to um, word is coming back to these
Judah?
folks. Word is coming back to Judah Khan, and they saying Tamar pregnant, man. Your daughter-in-law, she pregnant, man. You know what I'm saying? They know the situation. You know, I'm sure that thing done spread like wildfire. You know how Judah lost his two sons to this sister, and now this sister pregnant. So it's like, hey, man, you know somebody survived it. You know everybody else died, but somebody survived it, man. And she pregnant over here, and so Judah says, hey, man, she pregnant. Bring her here and burn her, man. Burn her. Burn that harlot. You know, cause she wicked. She's wicked. She done sat here and got pregnant, and she knows she's supposed to be a widow for my youngest son. But again, we know Judah didn't want that child to be his, you know, to have any dealings with her. He was trying to protect that boy. Um, but now when she's pregnant, you know, he's all in his feelings and so forth. Go ahead, Doc.
Verse 25. When she was
And
brought
Shalaki,
forth,
Go ahead.
I Shalaki, and that goes back to how those same curses on the side note, how it plagues the same thing David did when it came to Bathsheba. You know what I mean? Like how they try to hide their shame, knowing you done did wrong. You know what I mean? And but you gonna it, right? But you know you did wrong. On the same note, like he was instrumental of selling his brother Joseph into slavery to the eventually to the Egyptians. The same thing came back to his two sons in our year.
Con, we gonna get into that also. Um, to about yeah, that Joseph was that he was heavy in there. He was one of the main ones, giving directions in Joseph's predicament. But yeah, Con, you right, Op. Um, where we was at, verse
25.
25.
When she was brought forth, she sent to her father in law, saying, by the man whose these are I am, or Shalakia, whose these are am I with child. And she said, discern, I pray thee, who whose are these? The sign and the bracelets and staff.
All right, the Senate, the bracelets, and the staff. Who's these belong to? And she could have just said it. You know what I'm saying? But she trying to make it dramatic. She could have just went out here and said, "Hey, you know what? Judah got me pregnant." You know what I'm saying? But she was like, she made it dramatic. Find, I pray thee, find who these are, and this is who I'm pregnant by. Go ahead.
26. And Judah acknowledged them and said, she hath been more righteous than I,
Mm.
because that I gave her not to Shelah my son, and he knew her again no more.
Okay, so we see it happened real quick. You know what I'm saying? It happened real quick. One verse, but Judah acknowledged them and said, she have been more righteous than I. All right. He acknowledges, he's pretty much confessing his sin. He's acknowledging his sin, he's acknowledging his guilt, and he's saying that this sister is more righteous than I am. Even though she was deceptive, even though she played to be a harlot, because Judah knew that he wasn't really trying to give her that child. He knew he wasn't trying to give her the youngest child. He knew that, yeah, man, I betrayed this sister. And now looked at what done happened. And he never went into her again. He never did that again. And that child belongs to Er. You know what I'm saying? So, Er does, she does get that inheritance through Er, the oldest. And the father ends up doing this. Go ahead,
27. And it came to pass in the time of her travail that behold, twins were in her womb.
Twins in the womb. Go ahead.
And it came to pass when she travailed that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this came out first. And it came to pass as she drew back his hand, that behold, his brother came out, and she said, how hast thou broken forth this breach upon thee? Therefore his name was called Phared.
I think that means to breach or something like that. Perez means to breach, and the other some names means to Zara means scarlet. Go ahead.
And after came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was Zerah. Was called
Zara.
Zerah.
So we see that one initially came out, and that thread put, when you got twins culturally, they put that thread around to announce the firstborn. They'll put that thread around his arm. All right, and it's very important to know who the firstborn is for inheritance reasons. All right, if you sit them down, they identical twins, you bring them babies out, you leave the area, you come back, man, you don't know you don't know who the firstborn is no more. But you got that red cord there to let you know. But the joker that came out with the red cord, they tied them as soon as the hand came out. They tied the arm around the hand, but somehow Fares came out first. Somehow Fares came out first. Instead, and we gonna see that throughout the text. All right, we gonna see that switch up throughout the text. That was it on that. Oh man, I can barely see that. All right, hypocrisy. We just gonna deal with a couple of hypocrisy precepts. We ain't gonna go through all of them. I do want John 8 though. John 8 1 through 12. For time purposes. It's not really many slides, y'all. Maybe about 12, 13 slides.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 8, and verse 1. The Messiah went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery. in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But the Messiah stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And the Messiah was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When the Messiah had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those that thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And the Messiah said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more.
So what we wanted to really glean from this is that it's kind of, they kind of had that same spirit as Judah, where he was ready to burn this lady, and he, he the one that committed committed the act with her. You know what I'm saying? And then we see Yahweh saying here, if you don't, if you without sin, then you can cast the stone, man. But all those brothers were dealing with sin. All those brothers were under sin, and they had to see the hypocrisy in what they were doing. Let's look at Romans 2:21. And sometimes, it's hard to see, man. Sometimes it's hard to see ourselves. You know what I'm saying? That's why we gotta have grace, and we gotta be showing grace. We gotta be showing mercy also, because jokers be out there talking crazy, and be we be battling certain things ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta restore our brothers and sisters with gentleness, as the scriptures say. We attack these things harsh and tell people they're going to die, and we going home doing sins that worthy of death. You gonna burn, and we doing things that's worthy of being burned. Romans 2:20. What I
One.
said, 21. Go ahead.
This is Romans 2:21. Thou therefore which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? Thou that preachest a man should not steal, doest thou steal? Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, doest thou commit adultery? Thou that abhorrest idols, doest thou commit sacrilege? Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law dishonorest thou God. For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written.
So again, if those who are teaching the law and you breaking the law, you know what I'm saying, what does it profit? Um, if you're teaching another, or about teaching thyself, you got to hold yourself to those same standards that you want to go out here and teach. This is the law here, Deuteronomy 25:5. That was dealing with what was supposed to happen with those brothers. But again, you had Onan that wanted to spill his seed. And I feel that it was because he wanted that inheritance to be split two ways. He didn't want it split three ways. He didn't want that bigger inheritance to go to Tamar, all right, and her son.
This is Deuteronomy 25 and verse 5. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother, which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. And if the man not like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of the city shall call him and speak unto him. And if he stand to it and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elder and loose his shoe from off his foot and spit in his face and shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto that man that will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that hath his shoe loose.
All right, the house of him who had his shoes loosed. All right, if he don't want to do it, you take it to the elders. And he tell the elders, nah, man, I don't want to take her. You know, she's supposed to loose this shoe and spit in his face
Mm,
and forever give him this name of him that has the loose shoe. Um, and you see this again too in Boaz. It's a little different there. I'll let you do your research there. Um, but you know, yeah, it's this is something shameful. When this doesn't happen. All right, nobody wants to be in front of folks and get spit on and be seen as someone who don't want to honor their dead brother by giving him a son and letting his name die off in Israel. And so this is a open shame. You know what I'm saying? Just like Judah had to finally do and say that, Tamar is really more righteous than myself when he was trying to hide from that. This is something called like the what did I see they called that, man? The younger brother motif. All right, so you had Cain and Abel. Cain was oldest, and he ended up killing Abel. Isaac, Ishmael. Ishmael was oldest. Isaac got the promise. Jacob, Esau. We know about Jacob. Joseph and his brothers. Joseph was the youngest. Ephraim and Manasseh. It ended up switching. The oldest didn't get it. Jacob ended up giving it to Ephraim. He crossed his arms. Leah and Rachel, one of them was the oldest. I forget which one was the oldest. But he wanted the youngest. All right, and she just got thrown
Leah
out
was the
there.
oldest.
Leah was the oldest, and he really wanted Rachel. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then we have Faraz and Zara. And Zara was Scarlet, the one that got the thing, the thread wrapped around their arm. But Faraz came out first, and there's a couple more of these that are in here. I couldn't think of them, but there's a few more um, that this happened to. This is continual throughout the text. That the Most High is contrary to. He's operating contrary to how we see it. You know what I'm saying? Even David. David was the youngest. And then chosen to be king. Um, it's something in how the way the Most High operates. His thoughts are not our thoughts. He doesn't see things the way we see it. All right. Um,
Slocky.
genealogy. Go ahead, Doc.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, and it goes back to the first and second Adam as well, man. When you understand that the first Adam brought sin in, the second Adam took sin took sin out the
Con.
world, going to Christ, being that second son. So all that stuff is connected to one another.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. Definitely. Matthew 1:1. We're gonna read down through 7. We're gonna look at these. We're gonna look at these women that are in this genealogy.
This is St. Matthew chapter 1 and verse 1. The book of the generations of the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob begot Judas and his brethren. And Judas begot Perez, and Zara, and Tamar, and Pharez begot Ezram, and Ezram begot Aram.
Hold on one
And
second. It says Judas begat Pharez and Zerah. Just in that Greek, so it's a little different. Of Tamar, of Thamar. That's really Tamar. All
John.
right. So those are the two twin sons that she had. Pharez breakthrough. They are of Tamar, who was a harlot or played. She wasn't a harlot, but she played as a harlot, and she was a heathen. All right, go ahead.
So this time I'm just noticing Judas was Judah.
Judas is Judah. It's Judah. It's just in the Greek. It's just a little different. That's
Con,
Judah
uh,
and his brethren.
Con. And Judas begot Pharez and Zerah and of Tamar, and Pharez begot Ezram, and Ezram begot Aram, and Aram begot Aminadab, and Aminadab begot Nathan, and Nathan begot Salmon, and Salmon begot Boaz, and Rachel, and
Rachel is really Rahab. All right,
Con.
it's really Rahab. Boaz, and that's Boaz. Boaz of Rahab. All right, Boaz of Rahab. Boaz came from Rahab, and Rahab was a harlot. She didn't dress like one. She was a heathen harlot. Okay, that cleaved right before Jericho. All right, and Boaz begat. Go ahead.
And Boaz begot Obed of Ruth, and Obed begot Jesse.
All right, and Obed begat Ruth. I know Israel go back and forth about was Ruth an Israelite. I believe she was a heathen, but even um with her, she wasn't no harlot. But mom told her what to do, man. He says, "Hey, man, go in there, and lay your head on that man's feet, man. Ain't no man. Listen, a man laying down and a woman come in there and lay her head on you, and rest on your feet and comfort you. Of course, Boaz, being a righteous man, didn't do nothing that night. He went through the proper protocols and so forth. And but through Ruth, through Tamar, through Rahab. All right. Go ahead. And Oded.
And Jesse begot David the king, and David the king begot Solomon of her that had been the wife of Uriah.
And Ak was talking earlier um about Bathsheba, but that's who that is. All right, David King begat Solomon from Bathsheba, who David took her, and he seen her on bathing, and he took her, slept with her, and she was somebody else's. She was already married to somebody, an adulterous act, and then killed them, and tried to cover the whole thing up and so forth. But through her also, her being used also by the Most High to bring forth Solomon. And a lot of this stuff, could she said no, we can speculate on that, but the king tell you to come, you gotta go. The king send for you, you gotta go, man. It's so I don't want to get too deep into that, but these folks were done wrong. These folks were kind of I ain't gonna say, well, Rahab and Ruth, they weren't really done wrong, but they cleaved. They wanted to make sure that they cleave, and Tamar too. She wanted to make sure she cleaved. Also because she could have just stayed with her father. She went back to her father. She could have just stayed there. She didn't have to keep fighting for trying to get that inheritance and trying to get inside of that family. She didn't have to keep doing that, but she wanted to be there. You know what I'm saying? She could have just waited to get married off again by her father or something like that. But of course she wasn't no virgin, so I don't know how that would have worked. But she was desperate to get back in within that lineage. And all of these folks are in this lineage, and that's why they stories are in here. All the way till
Shalakia.
Mary. Go ahead.
Shalakia. I said a class from WFI. from Watchmen of Israel, with brother, brother, the leader of that camp was telling this Ethiopian woman that King David, Solomon never went in unto Bathsheba, and he broke down a plethora of scripts trying to prove that he never slept with her. So where is that account? Matter of fact, can you just text me that so I can look that up a little later?
Yeah, I text it to you, but you got the genealogy right there saying that he
Con.
did.
Yeah, man.
But I will text you that story so you can read through it. But the genealogy says that he did go in her, and through Bathsheba came Solomon.
Right,
Yeah.
Khan.
Um,
Wow. Okay,
so
Shalaka.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, nah.
Solomon, Bathsheba was Solomon's mother. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's a, and then and that's a hard thing to get around, man. You can't get around that. That you know, but yeah, man. But I yield, man. Yeah, brothers, man. But I yield.
Yeah. So this is verse 7. And Solomon begot Rehoboam, and Rehoboam begot Abiah, and Abiah begot Asa.
Yeah, that's all I wanted was to deal with those sisters, and of course, Mary has a particular story also, but we won't delve into that today. You've been cleaned. All of those sisters had a particular story, man. But we've been clean, man, and not just those sisters, man. Judah too, man. All the brothers that dealt with them, Judah, David, all these jokers that went out there and dealt with these sisters. Um, I wouldn't say Solomon because he ended up dealing with Rahab, um, but too you're not supposed to even be dealing with these other nations. But that's another story, so we won't delve into that too much. But you've been clean. Let's look at First Corinthians. Let's look at First Corinthians 6 and 9 through 11, and then we're gonna jump down to we'll do Acts 10 and 5. We'll do all
This is
three of these,
first.
man. They one hitters.
This is First Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 9. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. And such were some of you, but ye were washed, but ye are sanctified, but ye are justified in the name of the Lord, the Hamashiach Yahushua, and by the Spirit of our God.
Come on now, amen. All right, you are washed, sanctified, and justified. Through the Spirit, man, through the blood of Hamashiach Yahushua. But such were some of you. You know what I'm saying? Such were some of us. I know I'm on that list a couple times. Uh, dealing with these things, man. And again, that's why we have to bring our brothers up in gentleness, man. Because we know how easy it is to fall into these things, man, and how the devil has made this system where it just cultivates all of these things. All of these things are considered the things that we have pleasure in, man, that we do for fun. It's entertaining. Is pretty much what we do on our pastime. Only time we probably ain't doing these things when we at work, but a lot of us, some I ain't gonna say a lot of it, but some of us find a way to sneak in and get it done at work also. Acts 10 and 15.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 10 and 15. And the voice spake unto him again the second time, what God hath cleansed, that cannot thou common. That
Con, it's,
call not thou common.
Con. So he's talking about people here. But still, I understand he's talking about Gentiles, but and still, people being cleansed. If the Most High is cleansing these folks, you can't be coming back bringing up their history. Now, if they ain't cleansed them, and they still in they filth, and they returning back to the vomit. Yeah, the reproof and the correction is there, but if somebody came out of some rehab program and say they was dealing with, substance abuse, man, you can't keep calling them a crackhead. They done been clean 10 years. Psalms 51:7.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 51 and verse 7. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow.
Con, purge me with hyssop, I shall be clean. Wash me. All right, just talking about us being washed. Nothing like a good confession. Again, we seen Judah finally confess what he was doing. We'll read just two of these. Give me James 5:16. We seen him finally admit, hey, you know what? This woman's righteous, more righteous than me, man. I was wicked, man. I'm wicked what I was just doing. And then it cuts off and goes back into the story of Joseph, and that's we finna see real briefly on why I did that.
This is the book of James, chapter 5, verse 16. Confess your faults one to another, and pray one for another, that ye may be healed. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much.
Con, effectual prayer to a righteous man availeth much. Confess all. You can't ask for prayer unless you can't tell somebody what to pray for unless you confess your faults. Give me Psalms 32. Psalms 32, and verse 3. I said just for time purposes, we won't go through all. I ain't got about 4-5 more slides, but for time purposes, y'all just write those precepts down.
This is Psalms chapter 32 and verse 3. When I kept silence, my bones waxed old through my roaring all the day long. For day and night thy hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of summer. Selah. I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and mine iniquity have I not hid. I said, I will confess my transgression unto the Lord, and thou forgavest the iniquities of my sin. Selah.
Con. And we see, man, all this stuff come to light, man. You know what I'm saying? You might well confess it, man. This stuff, you'll hide this stuff, and you get waxed worse and waxed worse, and then when it come out, it's just this giant spectacle, man. It's just this giant thing that done brought youth shame, the camp, the organization shame, and brought all kind of shame to all kind of different individuals. But may could have been averted if what I'm saying you had the audacity to just say, hey, you know what, man, I'm gonna confess my sins and and not get us caught up and not get myself caught up. You see that Proverbs 28:13, he that covereth his sin shall not prosper, but whosoever confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. So it's a confession and a forsaking of those sins, and then you get mercy. The effects on Judah. Let's look at 37:26. Brother Eliezer, I was talking about this earlier. Genesis 37:26.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 37 and verse 26. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him. For he is our brother and our flesh, and his brethren were content.
So we see Judah being that one of that voice to say, hey, man, we don't need to kill him. Sometimes I read this two ways, man. Initially I was reading this, but today I was reading it different. Initially I was reading this like Judah was saying, hey, don't kill him, trying to preserve him, but Judah, I read it today and it was like Judah trying to preserve himself. Hey, man, trying to say this. Listen, man, we ain't got to have that blood on us. Let's just sell them and that blood not be on us. And we can get rid of them that way. It's a little more convenient and we don't have the guilt like that of, having that over our head that we literally killed our brother, man. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes that thing happen like that, man. You just read things a little different, especially with everything I was studying on doing this lesson. Um, so we see him, being that voice to tell these folks get rid of their brother and telling them how to do it. All right, and that's right before him. After this, he's leaving, and meets this. He's leaving the land, going into Canaan, seeing this Adulamite, and getting married to that Canaanite. Um, but now let's look at him changed in Genesis 44, which is still dealing with story of Joseph. But we'll see a change in Judah, and this is of course after the whole incident with Tamar. And don't get it twisted, it's another Tamar that David had that was raped by one of his sons. I think Tamar means palm trees.
This is Genesis chapter 44 and 33. Now therefore I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad of bondman to my Lord, and let the lad go up with his brother. For how shall I go up to my father, and the lad be not with me, lest peradventure I see the evil that shall come on my father?
So we see, if you go up to like verse 18, you'll see that, Judah, this is Judah talking. Then Judah, verse 18, then Judah came near unto him and said, all right, so Judah, it's pretty much telling Joseph, he don't know it's Joseph, but he's telling Pharaoh, he's telling the Pharaoh or the second in command, hey, if I don't come back with my brother, man, it's gonna kill my dad. It's gonna kill my dad. Take me instead. Just take me. Let me abide with you and let the youngest go, man. Don't let him stay. So we see almost a sacrificial um he wanted to just, put himself in there, self-sacrifice to save his younger brother. He want to change places. And maybe the Judah before that may not have had that same what's the word I'm looking for, man? He may not have put that on the table, just for the lack of words. He may not have put that on the table, not himself. He may have suggested somebody else do it. Well, wait, man, Manasseh, why don't you just, well, Manasseh ain't there yet. Um Naphtali. Well, why don't you just go on up there and do it, man? You's the one real eager. Why don't you stay, you offer yourself and then you go. You know what I'm saying? But we see a selfless Judah here. You know what I'm saying? That maybe that thing altered him a little bit. That kind of changed him a little bit. That confession, that shame that was brought on him, and his dealings, that acknowledging of that, maybe we can see here maybe him changing, his spirit changing a little bit, and he's having some humility and just showing love. All right, that John 15:13, greatest form of love is someone who lays himself down for his brother or for his friend. We see Judah doing that here. All right, Yahweh, a judge for the widows. Let's look at Psalm 68 and 5. Psalm 68 and 5. A judge for the widows. And I guess Bathsheba was a widow too, because David ended up killing the husband or getting them killed.
Hey,
This is
Shalakia.
Psalm.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry, man, but since you mentioned that David thing, when he had, and it just showed you how I was gonna go into a lesson. I'm sorry, Shalakia, I didn't get a chance to, but it was going into about reaping what you're sowing. When he had Ananias killed, and then the Most High killed that first baby, right? He killed the first
right,
baby. Then she had Solomon, and then Solomon had Rehoboam. And so when you start seeing that transgression from the initial transgression, just start to trickle down, and
right.
the kingdom wind up getting split. All that stuff was because of that transgression, visiting iniquity upon the children, man. And so, yeah, that's a good lesson, brother. I'm enjoying it, brother.
Con, all praises, exactly right, man. And like I was saying earlier, it's you gonna be hard pressed to try to find the perfect family structure. In that Old Testament, man, it's gonna be hard for you to find that, man. And that's what makes this book different from all the others. That it displays the shame. That's why that's an element that makes it a little more trustworthy because it don't just show you all the glitz and glory. It shows you the filth. It shows you the shame. It shows you the falls. It shows you all sides that we pull from and we glean from and we learn. Um, Go ahead, though. What I said, Psalms 68:5.
68, 68 and 5.
Con.
A father of the fatherless and a judge of the widows. God is his holy habitation.
Uh huh.
God setteth the solitary in family.
Mm,
He bringeth out those which are bound with chains, but the
mm.
rebellious dwell in a dry land.
But the rebellious dwells into a dry land. It says he God said of the solitary, all right, in families. The solitary, meaning the lonely, all right, the isolated. He sets them in families. So the Most High set these things up, man. He start. We was talking. You say it all the time, man. He's the ultimate chess player, man. He moves these things in where we see these widows getting placed. We seeing Ruth get placed. We seeing Rahab get placed. We seeing Tamar get placed into families. All right. Countless examples. So we see that he's a father of the fatherless, a judge of the widows, a defender of the widows. Um, let's look at Jeremiah 49:7-11.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, and verse 7. Concerning Edom, thus saith the
Concerning
Lord of
Edom,
hosts.
now it said concerning Edom. Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts. Is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan. For I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children. I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me.
Gone. So we see the judgment coming down or see a judgment coming down, prophesied to come down on Esau, on Edom. And that verse 11, it says, leave thy fatherless children. Why? Because the men dead. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive. And let thy widows trust in me. Why? Because all the men are dead. All the men are dying. And it may not be all the men, but majority of the men are dead. And usually in war, those widows and those women get, they the booty or they the treasure. That's the reaps of your that's the reaps of your reward, man. I mean I said that right, but of warfare. You know what I'm saying? You kill the men and you take the men and the children. And they become handmaids and servants and etc. But that's just something for you to, brothers will look over that and just, read through that and not really understand or say that the children there are Israel. But that's strictly dealing with Judah. Let's look at Ruth 4:11. Go ahead, Doc. You had something?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention, when you look up T-Man, that's really talking about the elite of Israel. I mean, Shalaki, the elite of Edom. So when you look at the
Mm.
word team, when you look at T-Man, that's talking about the elite of Edom. So sometimes we place That's referring to all Edom. But really, that was T-Man was talking about the elite of Edom. And sometimes we just need to look up these words just to make sure we looking in the right perspective and got the right tone to it. Oh yeah.
Right, right, con. And I didn't know that, and I didn't. But my ears tingled when I seen that. When Ock just read that, I'm like, why so much wisdom there? Like, cause I know he's speaking. I know the Most High is speaking facetiously, sarcastically, but I'm like, well, why is there? Why was there wisdom there? You know what I'm saying? Then I was like, well, I may need to find out. Um, why, how was wisdom there? And then, you bringing out that they were the elite and so forth, so they probably had all the libraries and they scribes and all of that stuff there. But I still need to look into that. But yeah, Con, like you were saying, man, we gotta look into this stuff. This stuff is deep, but I don't know how brothers be running to it's just so much we still have to glean from this text, man. Just so much, so much to learn. um and not to just just go over those things, man. Just, oh man, the so and so in T man, is there no knowledge in T man? Is it da 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 da? Like, we can't just go over that. You got to find those things out. You know what I'm saying? Find out what those things are to try to really get understanding on what's going on. And you're not gonna get that by watching camp videos. I know the classes are boring. Y'all, you hate seeing the slides, but I know we want to see the drama, but we have to try to get understand with all that get understanding, man. Ruth 4 and 11.
This is Ruth chapter 4 and verse 11. And all the people that were in the gate of the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephrata, and be famous in Bethlehem, and let
Now
thy house
this is
be.
Ruth. This is the judge is saying, okay, man, you go ahead and we witnesses to what's going on. Y'all can go ahead and make this transaction happen. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? And y'all mess around and bear seed for for her deceased husband. All right, so Boaz will go in there and lay that seed I forget if that was his nephew. But anyway, he's gonna lay that seed down for her deceased husband. So all the people at the gate, all the elders, they saying they witnesses, you know what I'm saying, and they giving this woman praise, man. Make this woman that is coming to thine house like Rachel and Leah, man, that built up the house of Israel. Go ahead.
And let thy house be like the house of Perez,
Uh-huh.
whom Tamar bare unto Judah
Uh-huh.
of
Let
the
the house be
seed.
like the house of Pharez. That one who broke through. All right, the one that broke through, not the one with the scarlet. Let it be like for the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bear unto Judah. And so we see Tamar is continual to be mentioned. All right, her name is orally being tossed throughout history. You know what I'm saying? Her name is being carried hundreds of years. Um, through this thing, man, through this particular story, and their house. And you know what I'm saying? So he's just giving honor to their house. And who wouldn't want to be at that level? Who wouldn't want to be mentioned at that level, man? You having a house like that, and even through Leah and Rachel fighting and so forth, they still did build up the 12 tribes. Um, but yeah, we see Tamar here mentioned also in that announcement. Go ahead.
Uh, I think that was it on that.
Of the seed which the Lord shall give thee
Shalak,
of this. Yeah.
Khan, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman.
So let that seed let you have a seed like Perez, like Tamar had. You know what I'm saying? Let you have a seed like that. Brothers is praying over that situation, and she's getting mentions in these prayers. Romans 8:28 is the last slide here, y'all. Romans 8:28.
This is Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God and to them who are called according to his purpose.
Con, and them that are called according to his purpose. All right. According to his purpose. Not our purpose, but according to his purpose, man. He moves these puzzle pieces. And we see that, we see that in this story here with Tamar and Judah, man. Anybody got anything to add or anything, any questions or anything? Um
Shalak, yeah, Khan. And like you were saying earlier, when you look at us as a nation, you see the turmoil that we went through then and why we so messed up now. It's a direct mirror image of our forefathers, and a lot of things that the Most High told us to do, and we aspire to look at them as that example, right? It's almost like the stool asking the toilet, which one is the cleaner? You know what I mean? And so we look at those as the example, and we're not looking at Yahweh Shah because he was the only pure example. You know what I mean? That's why I said that he left us the way that we ought to follow his steps, because we see the hypocrisy within our forefathers, and that's a direct um correlation to how we is today. Like you say, we out there teaching about the law, but then Christ said if you guilty of breaking one law, you guilty of breaking them all, man. We have sin tolerance within ourselves. We sit around and say, brother, you need to wear fringe, you need to wear a beard. But then we'll sit there and let our brothers, you know, dog out our sister, put her away, and then we want to pat our brother on the back like that's like he done did something special, man. You know what I mean? So you see the hypocrisy then, and you see the hypocrisy now. And brother, great lesson, man. I enjoyed it thoroughly, man. It made me take a hard look at myself as well. So, man, the water, brother.
I end up all praise to the Most High, man. But yeah, you make great points. Like I said, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to see ourselves. You know what I'm saying? It's just and we have a sin tolerance for ourselves, but we will probably go crazy on somebody we caught doing it. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to evaluate that, man. Again, bring these folks up in gentleness. Not trying to act like you got it all together. All right, like we said, we've all fallen short, man. We all done dealt with something, whether we want to admit it or not. We done all fallen short, man. It's not one. No. So our righteousness through the Hamashiach Yahushua, and we sanctified and justified, through him, through that blood. Um, so yeah, man, I'm glad everyone, yeah, I'm saying, glad brothers enjoyed the class, man. I pray this thing's edifying to the body. Dion, you got anything? You good? I know
I'm good.
we kind of went through it already. But all praises, man. So we'll be back. We'll be back next week on Tuesday, man. And we'll be back here Wednesday, y'all. Hope this thing was edifying to the body. I'm not gonna hold y'all up. I thought this thing was gonna be short, but we still went over an hour, 18 minutes. I tried to give y'all a little hour one, but we probably would have went even worse. I would have read all those precepts. But yeah, man, I hope this thing was edifying. And I see y'all. I'll probably be dropping stuff throughout the week, though. I got a couple of things lined up. So shalom, everyone. Shalom,
Hey,
Israel.
shalom, brother.
Shalom.